My wife secretly inherited $500, $0 from her late uncle, but as soon as I found out, she drained our joint account. Then I discovered she's been planning to sell our family home, worth over $1 million, to funnel the money elsewhere, and now she's threatening legal action to freeze my assets. I just can't believe how deeply she's betrayed me. Hello, everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now let's begin the video, using a throwaway for obvious reasons with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be sitting here writing this, but here I am. My wife always seemed perfect, beautiful, smart, charming, the kind of woman every guy would be lucky to have. We'd been married for 8 years, and honestly, I thought we had a good life, or at least I did. But in the last few months, things started to feel off. Little things, you know. She'd be secretive about her phone, hide her screen when I walked into the room, and suddenly she was more interested in her friends, social media than ever before. But I brushed it off, told myself I was imagining things, until I found out about the money. It all started when I noticed her acting strangely after she returned from her sister's place one weekend. She'd been gone for hours, claiming she was just catching up with her sister, Lisa. But I found a strange message on her phone, something about the deal going through and finalizing everything today. I didn't think much of it at first, just a vague reference to some business thing she'd been involved in. But then I caught her lying about a meeting she had scheduled with her friend Jessica. When I pressed her, she got defensive, told me she was just catching up on work, but I knew better. Something was up. A few days later, I was going through some of our financial papers, just routine, trying to get a grip on our expenses, and I noticed a strange transfer from our joint account. It was a large sum, over $50, $0, taken out in cash. I asked about it and she brushed it off, said it was a loan from her sister Lisa for some emergency. But I felt a weird sense of unease. The way she lied about that, the way she got defensive, something didn't sit right. That night I decided to do a little digging. I checked her emails, her messages, her bank statements, and what I found was like something out of a nightmare. Turns out, had inherited $500, $0 from her late Uncle Robert. I was stunned. She kept it a secret, but I found evidence she'd been planning to drain our joint account to get her hands on that money. She transferred a huge chunk to her personal account, then started talking about selling our house, our family home, worth over $1 million, to funnel the inheritance elsewhere. That's when it hit me. She wasn't just cheating on me emotionally, she was planning to steal everything we had. I couldn't believe how deep her lies went, how she'd been manipulating me all along. I felt betrayed, angry, and helpless all at once. I knew I had to confront her, but I wasn't prepared for what was coming next. The confrontation came sooner than I expected. I couldn't keep quiet anymore. I waited until she was alone in the house, and I just blurted out everything I'd uncovered. The inheritance, the draining of our account, the plan to sell the house. Her face twisted into this nasty smirk, like she was proud of herself for pulling one over on me. She looked me dead in the eyes and lied right there. "You're overthinking, Jack. I've told you it's all a misunderstanding. You don't have all the facts." But I did. I had the bank statements, the emails, the transfer receipts. I'd been through her phone, found the messages with her lawyer about the sale of the house, the transfer of the inheritance. She kept denying everything, claiming she was just trying to secure her future, that I was paranoid and jealous. Said she loved me, but I could see the venom behind her words. She was furious when I told her I knew about her affair too, because I had in fact caught her in the act. I've been suspicious for a while, noticing the late nights, the strange calls. I finally decided to follow her one night, and that's when I saw her with that guy from her office. They were in a hotel, kissing, holding hands. I saw enough to know she'd been cheating on me for months. The emotional hit was brutal. I'd always thought we were solid, that we were building a life together. But her betrayal went beyond just the affair. She'd been planning to take everything, our house, our savings, even our future, just to feed her greed and her stupid, selfish plans. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. The trust I had in her shattered completely. I didn't sleep that night, just sat there staring at the ceiling, trying to process how someone I loved could betray me so deeply. I was furious, yes, but also heartbroken. I wondered how I hadn't seen the signs earlier, how blind I'd been to her lies. I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. I had to decide what to do next, but honestly I was lost. Every thought was clouded with anger, sadness, and this gnawing sense of betrayal. I didn't want to believe that the woman I married, the woman I loved, could be capable of this level of deception. But she was. And now I had to face the reality that everything I thought I knew about her was a lie, that she'd been planning her escape, taking my trust, my money, my home, and turning it into her own personal fortune. I didn't know how to fix this or if I even wanted to. All I knew was that I couldn't let her get away with it. After that night, everything changed. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and I was constantly on edge. I knew I had to act fast before she finalized anything, before she sold the house or moved the money elsewhere. The first step was confronting her again, but this time with a plan. I needed proof, and I needed to shut her down before she could do any more damage. I decided to hire a private investigator. It felt like a desperate move, but I didn't see any other way. I needed someone to confirm what I already suspected. She was planning something big, and I had to stop her. The pie was able to dig up more than I expected. Turns out, had been meeting with a real estate agent behind my back. They'd been discussing the sale of our home, how to get the best price, ways to hide the transaction. She'd even started to prepare the house for sale, staging it for a quick sale, all while pretending everything was fine. The worst part was the email exchanges. She'd been talking about cutting ties and moving on quickly, as if she'd already made up her mind to leave me with nothing. Meanwhile, I was going through our bank accounts again, trying to find any last-minute transactions. That's when I saw the final nail in the coffin, a scheduled transfer of over $200, $0 from our joint account to an offshore account in the islands. That was her plan. She was planning to disappear with the inheritance, the house, and all our savings. I felt sick. How could she do this? How could someone I trusted so much turn into this complete stranger, a thief, a liar? It was like waking up from a nightmare, but the nightmare was real and it was happening right in front of me. I decided I couldn't wait anymore. I contacted my lawyer, explained everything, her plan, the inheritance, the sale, the offshore account. We filed an emergency freeze on the assets, and I demanded an immediate halt to any sale of the house. I also told her I was going to confront her with all the evidence. That day, I sat her down, showed her the emails, the bank statements, the evidence of her plans. Her face went pale, then red with rage. She yelled, called me paranoid, accused me of trying to ruin her. But I wasn't backing down. I told her I knew everything and that I was going to protect what was left of our life together. What little I had left trust in her, that is. She didn't take it well. She threatened to sue me, to declare me unfit, to freeze my assets too if I didn't back off. It was clear she was desperate, cornered. I realized then that she'd been planning this for months, maybe longer. Her bitchy attitude, her lies, her sneaky behavior, it all made sense now. She'd been manipulating me, using her charm to hide her true intentions. I felt betrayed, furious, and utterly exhausted. But I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I finally saw her for what she was, a thief and a liar. I knew I had to keep pushing to fight for what was mine. I just didn't know what the fallout would be yet. The days that followed were a whirlwind. I was in full damage control mode, trying to get everything legally sorted out while also dealing with the emotional wreckage inside. My lawyer managed to get an emergency injunction to freeze the sale of the house and the offshore transfer. It was a small victory, but I knew wouldn't go down without a fight. She was furious, turning all her bitchy, manipulative charm on me, trying to twist things, say I was overreacting, accuse me of invading her privacy. But I didn't care anymore. I had enough evidence to make her sweat. Meanwhile's behavior grew even more toxic. She started lashing out, calling me paranoid, crazy, accusing me of spying on her and trying to ruin her. She insisted she was entitled to her inheritance, that I was just jealous because she'd been so successful. That's when I saw her true colors. She wasn't just a liar. She was a narcissist, convinced she could do whatever she wanted because she thought she was above everything. She told me I was trying to control her, when all I wanted was honesty and fairness. She spun tales about how I was trying to ruin her, but I knew the truth. I'd seen her plans, her emails, her lies. One day she went too far. She called her lawyer and threatened to sue me for defamation if I didn't back off. She told him I was making false accusations and that she'd take legal action to protect her rights. That was when I realized she was willing to burn everything down just to keep her secrets. I felt a mixture of anger and sadness. I'd never thought I'd see her stoop so low. But I also felt a strange sense of relief. I was finally standing up for myself, fighting to keep what was rightfully mine. I knew this wasn't over yet, but I was determined to see it through no matter what. The emotional toll was heavy. I kept replaying everything in my mind, her lies, her betrayal, the way she'd looked at me with that cold, bitchy smirk when she was caught. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut more times than I could count. Every time I thought about the house, our memories, the life we built, everything was tainted now. I kept asking myself how I missed the signs, how I didn't see her true nature sooner. But I also knew I had to focus on the present, on protecting what little was left. I couldn't let her destroy me completely. I had to be strong, even if inside I was shattered. The betrayal ran deep, and I didn't know if I'd ever fully recover from it. All I knew is that I wasn't going down without a fight. The legal battle was draining. Every day felt like a new fight, a new obstacle threw in my path. She kept insisting she had every right to do what she was doing, claiming she was entitled to her inheritance and that I was just trying to control her. Her tone was bitchy and condescending, like I was the villain for simply wanting to protect what was ours. She even started spreading rumors to mutual friends, saying I was paranoid and abusive, anything to turn the tide in her favor. Honestly, it was infuriating. I knew she was lying, but the damage was already done. The trust was gone and her words cut deep. Meanwhile, I was working closely with my lawyer to gather more evidence. I had to prepare for the worst, her trying to fight me in court, claiming I was trying to sabotage her. She even hired her own lawyer, which told me she was prepared to go all out. I felt like I was fighting not just for the house or the money, but for my sanity. Every day brought new revelations, more emails, more proof of her planning to sell the house behind my back, more evidence of her offshore accounts. It was all stacking up against her, but she was still trying to spin it in her favor. One particular moment sticks with me. Showed up at my office, crying, acting like the victim. She begged me to drop the case, said she loved me and that she'd never do anything to hurt me, but I saw through it. Her tears weren't genuine, they were just another manipulation. I told her that I was done playing her game, that I'd fight for what was rightfully mine, and I meant it. That day, I finally realized she wasn't going to change. She was only going to dig her heels in, trying to save her own ass at any cost. I also learned that people like her don't change, they only escalate their game when cornered. The emotional was relentless. I felt betrayed, angry, exhausted, and sometimes even hopeless. But deep down, I knew I had to stay strong. I couldn't let her win. I thought about everything we'd shared, all the plans, the future I thought we had. It all seemed so distant now, like a cruel joke. I kept asking myself how I could have been so blind, how I missed the signs, how I let her manipulate me for so long. But I also knew I had to accept that I couldn't change her, only protect myself and what's left of my life. The betrayal was profound, but I was determined to see it through, to fight for my rights and ultimately to get justice. The final months were a blur of court dates, legal negotiations, and a constant battle to keep what was mine. His bitchy, manipulative side was on full display. She refused to admit any wrongdoing, kept spinning lies, and tried every trick she knew to delay the process. She hired a high-powered lawyer, and I could tell she was trying to wear me down, to make me give up. But I refused. I had too much at stake, my home, my future, my dignity. Slowly but surely the truth came out in court. The evidence against her was overwhelming: her plans to sell the house, the offshore accounts, the inheritance she'd hidden from me all along. In the end, the judge sided with me. The sale of the house was blocked and the offshore accounts were frozen. Attempts to manipulate the situation failed. She was furious, throwing tantrums, screaming that I was ruining her life, but I didn't care. I finally saw her for what she truly was, a selfish, greedy woman who'd betrayed everything we built together. The day I signed the final papers, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. I'd fought so hard for what was rightfully mine, but I couldn't help feeling broken inside. The woman I loved had turned into a stranger, a thief, a liar. Looking back, I realize I learned a lot from this nightmare. I learned that trust isn't something you should take for granted, especially when it's based on charm and good looks alone. I learned that betrayal can come from the most unexpected places, and that some people are only out for themselves, no matter how much they pretend to care. Most of all, I learned that you have to stand up for yourself, even when it feels like the world is against you. I don't know what the future holds now, but I do know I'm finally free from her grip. I'll rebuild piece by piece and try to trust again someday. For anyone going through something similar, my advice is simple. Don't ignore the signs, trust your instincts, and never let anyone steal what's yours without a fight.